Well, no more money for investment. What am I going to do now? What's up, guys? Jason here, aspiring entrepreneur, and welcome to episode 41 of Building an Online Business from Scratch, where I'm taking you A to Z and everything in between I'm doing to put together an online sales funnel. And so in this episode, we are going to be talking about the top 3 things you should be focusing on, or the core 3 pillars of essentially how to make money online without an investment. And this is kind of something that I didn't really consider when I first started this series for you guys, is talking about, well, how do you do this? How do you make money online without investment, right? Without an investment at all. So in this episode, that's exactly what we're going to talk about. So those 3 pillars, I'm going to run through them really quickly, and then I'll get into each one of them and why they're so important to how to make money online without an investment. So pillar number 1 is native content. Then pillar number 2 is skill, and then pillar number 3 is minimum viable product. And these come in that order. So let's go ahead, dive in, because we're talking about how to do this without a bunch of money. So number 1 is native content. So this is content that's designed to drive action. Very similar to what you see on YouTube or blogs. The difference is there's always a call to action. For example, with my YouTube videos, the call to action is always like, subscribe. Right? And I know it sounds really basic, but sometimes people just forget to do that. Or you write this really long blog post and then you forget to say, subscribe to my list for more stuff, right? So that can be something, so that differentiates just content from, native content. For example, my Instagram account is all just content. It's just straight content. There's hardly any calls to action. Now, what's nice about Instagram is natively people know to double tap to like or tag their friends or whatever, but there's no call to action for them to join me and my audience, which is what I'll get into in number 2, which is how it ties into the skill. But essentially what you want to be doing is day 1, you're producing content. So that means you're making videos, you're making Instagram posts, you're making Facebook posts, you're tweeting, you're engaging on Twitter, you're making your Snapchats. I'm not a Snapchat person, so I can't comment on that. So if you're looking for a place like where do you put your content, well, place number 1 is your blog, right? Your blog is always the center. However, unless you're already an SEO genius, you're going to be looking at a social platform to drive traffic for you, because if you want to make money online without an investment, you're not paying for paid ads, right? So we're doing everything natively, which means social media. So what are my top 3 picks? YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. So for me personally, I'm using YouTube and Instagram. I'm kind of skipping the Facebook thing. I mean, Facebook's just huge, giant. It's there. It's good to go. But there are a lot of things that limit your native reach without spending some money, making some level of investment, which is why I've shied away from it. So that's why I'm suggesting YouTube, Instagram combo for essentially creating your content, creating your native content, and growing your audience, right? So that's number 1 when you want to start online. That's what I've learned over these 40 episodes, figuring everything out for you guys, and all the time I've spent on, the sales copy, learning landing page software and the ads and all that fun stuff, is if I just siphoned maybe 20% of all that effort and put it towards growing an audience, I'd be much, much further ahead. And this YouTube channel is a perfect example of that. This YouTube channel just recently crossed 500 subs, and my email list, where I've spent 5 times as much money, isn't anywhere near those numbers whatsoever. So that's why whenever you're getting started, content, so you start growing your audience, okay? So that's number 1. Then number 2 is your skill. What are you going to be the best in the world at? And this is something that I'm still struggling with. I'm still figuring out. Right now it's AdWords, but I'm kind of getting a little bored of that. I'd like it to be sales copy. I'd like it, to be videography and these presentations, but that's a skill that I'm very, very low on when compared to my skill on AdWords. So one of the things you have to remember when you're looking to make money online, you're looking to grow your business or start your business, you have to be able to do something better than everybody else, right? There's no way around it. You have to be able to do something better than everybody else, or you're not going to win long term. That's just it. And so that ties into the first thing, which is, okay, if you know I'm presuming you know your niche by now, right? So presumably you are creating content, which was pillar number one. You're creating native content. You're calling people to like, subscribe, join your email list, join your tribe, join your audience. And then you need to have a skill that you're going to give to that audience, right? Obviously, your content needs to be valuable. That would be a whole nother 7 videos, right? So we're just going over the basics here. So once you have that content engine, you're pulling people in, you're building your audience. Now you have your skill. You've figured out, this is what the skill I'm going to have. This is the skill that I'm going to hone in on. And as you hone in on that, just document that process. Start a vlog of you becoming really good at that skill, because your audience is interested in that skill, right? And then that also opens up consulting opportunities. You'd be surprised how many people are just going to pretty much email you out of the blue after watching your YouTube videos or reading your blog and say, hey, I want to hire you to do XYZ. It's really, really cool. It takes a lot of work, but it's really, really cool. Which leads me into number 3, which is the minimum viable product. This is probably the biggest mistake I made with this building an online business from scratch project. And that was taking 3 months. I mean, I compiled it. I definitely pressed it down, but taking 3 months to produce a product before I had an audience and before I had honed my skill. And so if there's anything that you take out of this, 7 minutes in, is that just focus on the first 2. And then if you want a product, the best minimum viable product is one that involves selling your time, because then you're not spending time making something. And when you start selling your time, it's not scalable, right? It's not sexy, it's not glamorous, it's not passive income. But that's how you get there, because you hone your skill, you test your skill, and you get to know your audience really, really well. It's one thing to engage in comments, blog comments, YouTube comments, engage in Instagram DM. It's a whole nother thing to actually do work for them and see how they respond to what you do. Right? And then out of that, you can, create a course teaching people how to do it themselves. You can put together a software that helps people do it on their own. You can go ahead and write a book. You can just do masterminds or consulting or coaching. Like, all that fun stuff is there. But if you start with the consulting or a service, I mean, heck, I even with my Excel stuff, I went over to Fiverr and sold my time for like $3 an hour. It was brutal. It was awful. But man, did I learn a lot in that month and a half of selling my services for $3.50 an hour, that I quickly learned that I should not go into creating I didn't want to scale that up. So I went and pivoted and perfected another skill. Okay, so summary here. Number 1 is your native content. Number 2 is your skill. What are you going to be the best at in the world? Like, you are just going to dominate. If you were you're going to be the Usain Bolt of X, you're always going to win that race. You're always going to get that gold. That's what you're striving to be. And you don't have to know that out of the gate. As long as you know your industry, your general direction, you'll be okay. For me, it's marketing. I don't have my set in stone, but when I do, you better believe that I'm going to make sure that I'm the absolute best in the world at whatever that unique skill is. And then number 3, finally, is the minimum viable product. Please don't spend a bunch of time creating a product or designing a robust service until you've already completed the first step number 1, which was your native content. You're growing an audience, and then you're on the path of step number 2, which is you are perfecting your skill. And then minimum viable product, what's great about it is you create something very, very small, very, very minimal, and you offer it up to an audience of people who already know, like, and trust you, because you started with the native content, as opposed to trying to drive cold traffic to a minimum viable product. Now you don't know if people are not responding because your marketing stinks or because your offer stinks. Whereas if you already have a list of people who are familiar with you, you're already honing your skill, you've already taken all that time because as you create content, right, you're going to get feedback, which is one of the biggest things that I missed out on in not creating more content. And as you get that feedback, which part of your skill or which skill in your industry or niche you should be honing. And then when you create your minimum viable product, essentially saying, hey, I will do really great work for you for like $5 or $6 an hour, and people who already know, like, and trust you respond to that, then whether or not your skill and your service or MVP is valuable versus when you try to do all that with cold traffic, well, a lot of it's going to depend on your marketing. And I'm going to venture to guess 9 out of 10 of us, our marketing isn't all that great yet. And of course, that's another skill that you have to decide whether or not to hone or outsource. Of course, as soon as I say outsource, that means you need money, which means you're making an investment, which makes the title of this video null and void. So back to those 3 points. So thank you for watching. I hope you found this video informative and actionable, and you were able to stick through with the orange glow on my face. Very, very sorry about that. I'll have to fix my lighting later. So if you got some value out of this video, go ahead and hit that like button and then subscribe for more business building and tactics and strategies just like the ones covered in this video over on my YouTube channel. I'm going from A to Z, everything in between, on how to build an online business from scratch. And so that's the point of this series. So if you're just joining this series, I definitely encourage you to subscribe and comment below with questions you have about, making money online and starting your own business. And these videos come out once a week, so we are documenting the entire process. To those of you who've been sticking around, thank you so much for sticking with me on this journey, especially all the nice comments I got on the previous episode. It really, really means a lot. So until next week, keep building the business you love. Take care.